Hello, I'm David Pearson, and you are listening to another episode of Inner Pursuit. I'm here to talk to you about bad days. If you're like me and you have post-concussion syndrome, then you know what bad days are, and it's pretty common. I'll admit, this has been a pretty lousy year, and I'm here to talk to you more about that and what you can do when you face these bad days while dealing with PCS. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to Inner Pursuit. I am David Pearson. If you know anything about post-concussion syndrome, or if you're dealing with it yourself, then you know post-concussion syndrome comes after you have received a concussion. And a concussion is a traumatic brain injury. It is a type of traumatic brain injury. In the medical field, they list it as minor traumatic brain injuries. But if you're dealing with a concussion or post-concussion syndrome, you know it's anything but minor. And you're talking about microscopic injuries. But before I go ahead and continue to talk more about this, I want to give a shout out to Kristen Siddall. She has been wonderful. She has been a guest on my last episode, and she has been talking about eye health and especially the Neuralens. I'm giving her a shout out here because Kristen and the people over at Neuralens enjoyed the podcast very much, that they had supplied me with a pair of Neuralens to test out and to give him some feedback there. We're going to be revisiting the discussion with Neuralens, and we're going to go a little bit more into depth about it. And since I'm testing these out, I'm going to be giving my honest opinion about it in that episode. More details to come as we make arrangements for that, and it's probably going to be another month or two before I go ahead and make that podcast possible. But just know it's coming on up. And so far, the experiences with it has been absolutely incredible and absolutely transformational, and also bad too. Good, bad. It's good, bad, and ugly, but then yet I am in a transitioning phase because these glasses really do change how your eyes function. And when I take them off, I notice the difference. I notice a difference in my vision already. Anyways, enough about that. We are jumping on into bad days because bad days do happen. And dealing with post-concussion syndrome, it is not easy. And I'll be straight up honest with you. I've been having a pretty lousy year when it's been dealing with PCS. And I'm going to go ahead and start back at the beginning. I have done therapy, I have done treatments, and these things, especially people over at physical therapy, and physical spelt with an FY and a Z in there. They've been wonderful. I've worked with them before in the past. They just again worked with me today to help me get some things straightened on out, and I'm going to be revisiting them again. I had to go back and visit with them because it's been nearly 2 years. Incidents has happened. And so one thing to remember is that when you're dealing with someone, or when you're dealing with post-concussion syndrome, even if your symptoms go away, they will come back. You know that. That's why it's a syndrome, and it sticks with you. It's going to last for years or for the rest of your life. Fortunately, it's going to be the same. Fortunately, the thing that I have to deal with, but I know your pain and you know mine. It all started off last year with, I'll be straight up with you. We'll do this arm. The jab. We all know about the jab. That's as much details as I'm going to go on in there. I never got the third or fourth jabs. I only got the first and second one as initially brought on. And that put me through a month of reignited symptoms. It was pretty rough for me to actually deal with. In fact, I thought I had to go back to go get some therapy. But I was able to really overcome most of that by doing a lot of the exercises, a lot of the at-home treatments, and a lot of the nutrition. And I was able to overcome that after a month. It just took a while. And it's unfortunate that the jab that really meant so much good actually had such a negative effect on me. And I know there's other people where it didn't have quite an effect, negative effect, or a positive one. It can go either way. But that started off with the reigniting there. I got most of myself back and the happy go-getter guy. 2 months after the jab, I had my very first back injury, and we're talking herniated disc. I didn't realize how severe it was at that time, and it took me probably about a good 9 months to recover from that. And I was able to get back to fully exercising with some tingling and numbness in my legs still. I'm like, okay, that's probably something I have to deal with. And then once in the month of January came around, the end of January came around, and this was this year, 2022, I had severely injured my back, more so than what it was before, and that's just by doing CrossFit. I tried to go get initial treatments, and every time I went to go get treatments before I had a true examination from an MRI or X-ray, the chiropractors I would see at that time was very rough with the adjustments and aggravated the nerve. I've learned a lot of hard lessons from that. And so here I am, I'm dealing with an immense amount of back pain, probably the worst pain that I ever dealt with in my entire life, and I dealt with it for 3 weeks straight. So I had that pain. That pain caused a lot of stress, and not just a lot of stress, but I went and saw my family doctor, and he ordered the MRI, but he gave me every pain medication you can in the book. One for the nerves, one just for regular, well, not regular. It was very strong pain medication. Very strong pain medication for nerves, very strong pain medication that you get usually typically after surgery. And there's one other one, muscle relaxers. I took all three, and he told me how to take them, gave me some caution on them. Otherwise, I could probably severely harm myself or even cause death if I misused them. So I took all three. And taking all three of those for a period of 3 weeks exacerbated the symptoms that I've had before in a concussion and reignited everything. And I went from sounding like a brilliant guy to really a big stupor of thought. And anyways, if you have PCS, you know what I'm talking about. It's not fun to deal with. That one right there, unlike the jabs, I was not really able to recover from. I did my at-home exercises. I took up CrossFit again for ease of therapy for my back, since my coach had a great experience in back injury recoveries. I saw a chiropractor / physical therapist who was fantastic for my back. He better understood how to recover from back injuries better than the first guy. So he took it easy, and he was able to actually help get me back out of pain. On top of this, my wife is pregnant with our 4th baby. So when it rains, it pours. And I have my own pay-per-click advertising business that I manage and that I run, and I service my customers. Imagine you get all of this happening at once, and you have post-concussion syndrome. Everything is just building on up. Finally, I gave in. My exercises was not working. My own treatments, my own nutrition was not working. Everything was just going out of control. So I gave in, and I gave physical a call, and I requested the therapist over there who knew me personally, and I had great experiences with him. I just met with him today. Great experiences. It was actually a really rough go. When I was there, he actually broke me. He broke me. I'll just say that. And he didn't mean to. He, um, I was working on the Dynavision, and that's what the box is called. You can Google it, and I fully recommend that for treatment and therapy use. Football coaches even use it too for high performance football players. But it's excellent for concussions and post-concussion syndrome. We did a game, and he was explaining the details of it, where I had to look at the image on the box, where it outlined a state, had a number, red dots would come all over the board that I had to slap every time the red dot came up, and the green light would come up. Now, I'm able to explain it to you now, but earlier today and probably yesterday, I don't think I would have been able to re-explain this things to you. But that simple explanation broke me. I could not process it. I closed my eyes and I was in literal tears. And he tried to say, "Here, let me show you." And I said, "No, stop right there. I can't let you show me. I have to think this through." And I was really pushing hard with my head on really trying to process with what he just told me. And it probably took me a good couple of minutes where I just gave up and I just said, okay, I couldn't. So I let him show me, and we got things back on track. To be honest, I didn't mean to really dive in that whole story right from the get-go, but to break things down. That was part of the times of recovery. That was probably the final thing for recovery right there, is going back to him. Great experience with getting that therapy done. But what do you do? And my daughter's born, by the way. She was born over a month ago. So beautiful baby girl. And she even has a, hopefully there's a part of me that's hoping it's a permanent thing. But she's my little butterfly right now. And she has a birthmark that we found on her belly that's in the shape of a butterfly. And so I'm like, oh man, I'm her dad. I'm just melting over that. So great stuff. All of this stress, all of this hell that broke on out. How do you manage it? I called up physical just last week, but I've been dealing with this all year since my back injury broke out. I struggled with putting presentations together. I struggled with reading, and I even struggled with my own job. Speaking about my own job, I got one more part for you. Remember when I told you when it rains, it pours? On the day of my daughter's birth, I'm in the hospital room. My fourth child, my wife and I are determined to make this our last child, because the pregnancy's been rough on her too, and it's been rough on me. I was in the hospital room because we were working at inducing, because we were past due already. It's like, okay, so hospital room, I get an email from one of my clients. He says, "Dave, something's broken. Something's not working." Like, okay, not a good time. I sent him a quick message back. I'll take a look at it. My wife's in the hospital and I can't get to you. I kept on getting message after message after message from him. It's like, stop it. Excuse me. So finally, since we were working at inducing labor, my wife wanted to do it naturally. It was taking several hours for us to go through this process. So I did take some time to look at the email and look at the situation. On the day of my daughter's birth, what happened on my clients' websites and ad campaigns is only a God and a devil can know about. I had a DDoS attack. And if you know anything about DDoS attack, that is where someone literally pays another organization or some outside external force releases a full-blown attack on your servers by visiting your websites with robots, with actual people, with click farms. And they overwhelm the system, shutting everything down. My clients rely on my services for a living. Just to let you know, just for an example, I was on the phone yesterday with one of my clients, and he told me that this is after the whole ordeal, which was a huge blessing. Spent $7,000 with me for advertising his services. And he made $150,000 last month, thankfully, because that was a month that everything broke out, and he was one of the big problem clients that I had because of this DDoS attack. He was starting to lose faith in my services, and with me being overwhelmed and stressed, especially on the day of my daughter's birth when this whole attack broke out. Seriously, only a God and the devil would know that and know to put the two together. I got a puzzle put together to figure that one out. Where was I? I've been fighting that group. I had invested my time, late hours into the night, on several days, dealing with PCS, this high stress new baby. Everything got exacerbated, all the symptoms there. That one is what made me go back and to get therapeutic help from a concussion clinic. It's because all that was overwhelming. That attack is being solved from the DDoS attack from my clients, and it's a huge blessing because I think God stepped down and helped me with that, and still is helping me getting things resolved. One of the things that you need to remember is no matter if it's one bad day, if it's one bad week or one bad month or one bad year, you have to take care of yourself. I do like to help others. I feel good when I help others. I feel good when I'm able to just do something good for someone else. Whether if it's physical labor, whether if it's emotional support. But this year I struggled with really doing much of that. In the beginning of the year, better. Later on in the year, it got worse. Dealing with post-concussion syndrome. Even when all hell breaks loose, you have to step back and take a moment. And this is a reminder for myself right now too. There's a technique called mindfulness, and it helps bring order back into the brain. You could use mindfulness through good focus music. There is brainwave technology where it actually plays static and different pulses of sound waves that you can listen to. Lock yourself up in the dark room and meditate while this is playing. These are key techniques that can help bring order back into the brain. And that part right there I had forgotten about, and it was a nice reminder for me today to remember that part. Second thing is, take time for yourself. Did I say that yet? I know I have. That was not a concussion issue. I did that intentionally. If you're like me and you like to take care of others, if you're like me, you have a family, if you're like me, you own a business and you have clients that you have to satisfy, you can't help them until you can be fully functional. That's also why I went to the clinic today. Simple techniques, such as eye games. Eye games is something like looking at the fingers back and forth with the eyeballs. I've done that a lot. That helps clear up brain fogginess. That helps increase blood flow to the brain. And it's not just that there, but you can even do eye trickeries like that. and even run a finger across. I call this the joystick model of kind of like recalibrating your brain. If you played with computers back in the late 80s, early 90s, I played Doom on the computer. So I had this big joystick that looked like a pilot controllers. If you want to use that appropriately and not drift when you let go, you had to calibrate it for each gameplay. And so had you go up, down, left, right, and bring it all around in circles until the computer says, hey, it's calibrated. Literally, no joke, same thing with your eyes. Next up, don't be hard on yourself. When these days happen, know that it is not a mental health issue that you're dealing with. You are dealing with a physical brain injury that has the symptoms of mental health issues. Remember that. And if you want to maintain and manage that, you need to exercise. And exercise is good for decreasing stress. Exercise is good for increasing blood flow to the brain. And exercise is very much good for your overall body and mental well-being. And be thankful for the blessings that you have, for everything that's going on in your life. Know that PCS is like a pendulum. Good days, bad days. So eventually, that pendulum is going to swing back the other way, and all those bad times are going to become great again. And so it's just a matter of being patient with yourself. It's okay to have bad days, especially with post-concussion syndrome. And if you lose temperament or find yourself losing temperament, pull yourself out of that situation because you are not in the right mindset to manage it. The good days are coming. And those good days can come whether if you sit and wait for it, or if you take the action and the steps necessary to make it come sooner. I am. That's why I'm going back to a concussion clinic. If you need help with tips and ideas on how to manage this stuff on your own, or even where to go on how to find the appropriate help, please reach out to me. I'm real easy for you to reach out. You can find my website at inthepursuit.com, or even better, shoot me an email, david@inthepursuit.com. I'd like to talk to you, get to know your story. And I am more than happy to answer questions for you. I'm more than happy to give you ideas on what to look for. Sometimes you're going to have doctors that are going to push ridiculous things, or therapists that's going to push ridiculous things on you. Unfortunately, I had that experience recently with this clinic, but I was able to talk my way out of it. You don't have to take everything that is offered. There is a lot of folklore out there with post-concussion syndrome recovery, and then there's a lot of methods and scientific methods that actually work. And if you have a story, you want to share your story, reach out to me still. I'll talk to you. Heck, maybe even bring you on my podcast to interview you. I also am building a community. I joined a group for some side training, so that way I can become a coach. So that way I can be a better person for you and to actually approach you the appropriate way. And this company, they have a lot of bright ideas, great community themselves of support and of teaching and of learning here. And I want to pass that on to you, my knowledge, and maybe you have some knowledge that you want to share too. So I'm building the group on Facebook. If you want to join it, it's open right now. I will be offering some questionnaires and that later, but now's the time for you to join it. If you want to go on in clean scot-free, I may ask you some questions, shoot you a message and ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit. But it's on Facebook. You could look for it. It's at In the Pursuit. Don't look for In the Pursuit page on Facebook. Look for In the Pursuit group, and you will find it. It's real easy. And if you have to search me out, In the Pursuit with David Pearson. Thank you for joining me. That is all that I have for today. And I hope you are doing well, and I hope you are managing your own life better too. And remember, it's okay to have bad days, but step back. Take care of yourself first. Then you can take care of others. I'm David Pearson. Thanks for joining me on In the Pursuit. We'll catch you next time.